I call the member for Port Stephens.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. Earlier this week, the government provided a response to a question which was asked by Labor's Shadow Health Minister, Walt Secord, late last year in the Legislative Council. In November, Mr Secord had requested that the government conduct an urgent investigation into the possibility of a cancer cluster occurring within the Williamtown red zone. He noted that the Victorian government had recently conducted a similar investigation concerning Fiskville in regional Victoria, which had confirmed a statistically significant increase in cancer in that area. On Tuesday this week, a response by the Honourable Niall Blair, representing the Minister for Health, noted, and I quote, "New South Wales Health is currently reviewing statistical analysis of cancer data in the Williamtown area, with the assistance of the New South Wales Chief Health Officer's Environmental Health Expert Advisory Panel." As a local member of Parliament representing Williamtown in this place, I was relieved to hear that the Health Department was conducting this study. I was frustrated that it had taken so long, but relieved that it was actually happening. My community has been asking these serious questions for years now, and too often we have heard from government agencies that they just don't know enough. We just don't know what this contaminant does. It was left to the impressive investigative journalism of the Newcastle Herald newspaper and award-winning journalist Carrie Fellner in particular to piece together the facts which ultimately revealed that over a 15-year period, a sparsely populated 5-kilometre stretch of road in the red zone, Cabbage Tree Road, had over 50 confirmed cases of cancer. As you would imagine, media reports of a possible cancer cluster were met with horror, combined with a sinking sense of inevitability, because these residents have seen what's happened to their loved ones and their neighbours. Since then, they've been waiting for the New South Wales and Commonwealth governments to connect the dots. They live in the area immediately south of the RAF base. They live on land contaminated by the RAF base. They have been using water contaminated by Defence for years, and they've lost too many people to cancer. And so, as I said, I was relieved to hear about this study by New South Wales Health, because it might have helped connect the dots, and it might have seen these families offered some support in the form of land buybacks so they can escape the area they once loved but now fear to live on. But I also learned that the statistical area which was being analysed and cross-referenced with data held by the New South Wales Cancer Council was the SA2 census area covering Williamtown, Medowie and Karua. Now, clearly I'm not a statistician, but given everything else this community has gone through on top of the contamination, including a recent bushfire that tore through the area, and a whopping big sand mine that's been given the tick of approval by the Department of Planning just last week, I would have thought someone in this government would have taken a closer look at this. Because when you consider the population spread of the relevant SA2, you find that it includes 14,000 people stretching all the way from Karua, 30 kilometres from the contamination, through Swan Bay to Medowie and finally Williamtown and Saltash. This means that more than 11,000 people who live in that census area live nowhere near Williamtown. In fact, more than 75% of the people studied have nothing to do with the contamination. To make matters worse, Fullerton Cove, which is clearly within the contamination area, was not included in the study area. So as soon as I heard about this, I had grave concerns, as did my parliamentary colleagues, Tim Crackenthorpe and Federal MP Meryl Swanson. Now, we were only informed about this process yesterday morning at a meeting here in Parliament. But just like the government's response to the Legislative Council on Tuesday, we were led to believe that the process was ongoing. It wasn't. We found out last night at about 7 o'clock that the study was completed and a determination had already been made. The conclusion is from the Department of Health is that there is no evidence of a cancer cluster in Williamtown. Now, I just don't understand how the Minister and later the government officials can make this conclusion when almost 80% of the people included in the study don't live in Williamtown. This study seems to be meaningless and harmful. It's caused a firestorm of anger, disbelief and despair among the families affected, and rightly so. And this is just the most recent thing this government should be ashamed about. They lurch from stuff up to stuff up without the slightest concern for the people actually living this awful nightmare. I think it goes to show just how low this government's priorities list this issue is. So my initial relief has once again turned to despair. And today in question time, when I asked the Premier if she stood by the New South Wales Health Study findings, she refused to even acknowledge it. For heaven's sake, Premier, start treating these families with some respect.
Mr. Speaker, I call the member